Billy, how are the celebrations Wednesday night into Thursday morning with your team?
Yeah, they were good. Obviously, when you create a mood like that, when you create that sort of atmosphere, you want to hold on to it. Sometimes I feel we move on far too quick and we don't enjoy these moments. So it was important that the group stayed together and enjoyed the dressing sheds, and then we went off to the Caxton and had a couple more there. So, yeah, I think we can move on far too quick in not just this game, in life in general. You got to sometimes sit back and appreciate what you've achieved.
I saw some vision of the Caxton. It looked like a great time had by all.
I think the great thing about going there was the players got to rub shoulders with the people who they were playing for. The general public were there and they got to feel what this team means to the general public, or probably remind what this team means to the general public, because these players were once those people sitting there and admiring this team, and now they get the opportunity to go and inspire their state.
And post-Origin, we've also heard just how sick Cameron Munster was leading into Game 2. Were you worried that he wasn't going to be able to take the field? Because as you were saying before, he was shivering. There
was a moment there just before warm-up that, we were quite concerned. He was going downhill pretty quick. So he wasn't all that crook last year when he had COVID and he wasn't allowed to play. So I didn't know how crook he was going to have to be to keep him out. When I spoke to him, he said he was never going to miss the game. But yeah, he certainly wasn't feeling 100%, and he did a great job to go out there and not just be out there and contribute, but play a leading role for us.
And even some of your support staff as well. I know Jonathan Thurston, he got quite sick after the game as well.
Well, he didn't even make it to the Caxton, so...
Unlike JT.
He wasn't well at all. He went back to the hotel, and hopefully JT's feeling a bit better now.
All right, Freddie, you've had a couple of days now to look back. Is there anything you're looking back on that you would change if you had your time again?
No, because you don't get to do that. But I think, like Billy, you've got to sit there after the game and acknowledge just what went on. Speaking to the players, when you look at the scoreline, it looks like a real dust-up, but I thought the teams were, for a big part of the games, highly competitive, and I thought a lot of our players did a great job. Reece Walsh was a huge factor, I think, in the score. His touches, I thought were just, most probably the difference in the series, really. Both teams, mostly had similar amounts of chances, and they nailed a lot of theirs. And on top of that, I think there was some big plays from Queensland as well, which we didn't actually quite get on. I thought the Cherry Evans play was a big play. Lindsay Collins also, I thought, come up with a couple of huge plays. So all in all, beat by a better side, but although they went down trying, and we had a bit of misfortune, obviously, around injuries, and there's a man, Damien Cook, played Damien in the centres, but like I said, pretty proud of the way the boys played and they kept fighting.
It was unfortunate from the start to lose Tom Trbojevic. What have you made of the criticism of people on your decision to bring Damien Cook in at centre? Some people suggesting maybe Cam Murray should have been. What have you made of that line of thought?
The mindset was early in the camp because Damien Cook's also a lot quicker than Cam Murray. Cam Murray played a couple of games there a few years ago. Cookie hasn't played there for a long time. He come into grade as a winger and a centre. So the thing was, you don't ever think this is going to happen in the first couple of minutes of a game. And I've got to say, a lot of what Cookie did was very impressive. He up against Valentine Holmes and stood him up a couple of times. He come in and made his runs. The defence is the hard thing, and they come down that side. But the game before, Reece Walsh had also come down that side and scored 2 tries. So it's not as though that I could think of anyone could have done a better job. And also Cam Murray had just come off for a sore groin where he hadn't trained for a couple of weeks, and by far I thought Cookie was the best answer for that position.
Matching speed with speed?
Yeah, that was the idea. Like, it's hard out there. You need speed because you're obviously up against faster players. So no, I thought he did a great job.
Joey, how are you feeling about it? Your passion, I think a lot of New South Wales fans feel exactly your passion.
Yeah. I thought Queensland were the better team on the night. There's a couple of the disappointing part of the game for me was when Stephen Crichton got the intercept and ran 80 metres, and when he got tackled by Cherry Evans, there was about 6 jerseys, Queensland jerseys in the frame, and then they got all back behind his at the moment here. And look at the Queensland jerseys chasing, and we haven't got a New South Wales other than Brian To'o. And look, guys are coming from the other side of the field for Queensland, and you know our jerseys aren't in the frame with the series on the line. I know this was a play 0 intercept, so New South Wales have been defending for a set of 6, but you've got to find a way to get there. That was probably the most disappointing part for me, but you know, they put their bodies on the line, but at the end of the day, Queensland were the better team and took their opportunities.
All right, well, let's dive into our Arnott shapes of play and have a look at some of the key players and how they shaped up on Wednesday night. I've got to start off, Bill, for you. Lindsay Collins, player of the match. Yep. He had that remarkable moment at the end of game 1, and then he took it up even another notch in game 2.
Yeah, he had a fantastic game and made a real difference. Started off the interchange bench, but you really knew when he was on the field. And all of these actions shouldn't be a surprise to people. If they watch Lindsay Collins close at the Roosters, these actions are well entrenched in his game. And he just put them all together. That was a big one. That was a big moment. And he was just about to come off the field before that. And so he was fatigued. He was out on his feet. That was at the end of his last stint. And to go out there and perform like that, well done, Lindsay. Overachieving there too.
What about for the Blues? Freddie Mitch Moses, he came in. He obviously had big shoes to fill. A solid performance.
It was good. It was good. At the end of the day, we couldn't get anything right on the edges. Queensland really rushed up and they did a great job on the edges, and we really relied on a couple of tap-ons and just hoping more than anything. But he's got things in his game, Mitch, which keep you in the game. He's got a great kicking game. He ran the ball, and that's, you know, he's got good speed. So I'm more than happy with what he did in the game.
Well, he defended really well, Freddie.
Well, he had Fafita.
David Fafita got him at one-on-one at least half a dozen times, and he defended him really strong.
What about someone who could come back potentially for Game 3? Jake Trbojevic. He will be returning for the Seagulls from injury on next Sunday. They play the Roosters. Would he be in your sights?
I think we'll just wait and see. You know, I wish him all the best getting back. He went out to the Tigers after the last calf injury and extended his stay off.
Canberra, he tore again when they had the big win down at Canberra.
Yeah, that's right.
But the worst thing for
the Tigers,
the soft tissue injuries, especially for big men in the middle, he wouldn't have run for a month or so.
Bit too risky.
Well, you don't get to run on the ground. You do a lot of that stuff in the gym and on those new machines they got, whatever they're called. But, you know, and, well, Latrell's got another month off, and his calf injury, when they do scans, you know, doesn't show the sort of damage that was done on Jake Trbojevic, but it shows you you know, what happens with soft tissue. It's a sort of personal thing. You know, you've got to feel confident and, you know, to be able to run and stretch out. And I think at the moment we're sort of seeing, you know, how that affects different people.
So what's your, heading into Game 3 at Accor Stadium, what's your message to the team? What's sort of that key message that you're going to get to ensure that they can finish this series on a high?
We need to win. I think there's 70,000 tickets already sold for the game, so it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. And I think everyone knows we're up against a good team. They're well organised and they fight hard, so it'll be a great result.
I hate the expression dead rubber. There's no dead rubbers in Origin. Every time you play in Origin, it's a privilege to represent your state and play in the jersey. There's no dead rubbers. There's no such thing as a dead rubber.
Oh, what a night it was in Townsville on Thursday night. Ruan Sims joins us here on the panel. Ruan, it was sort of mixed emotions for your Sky Blues because they won that game but just fell agonisingly short of winning the series based on the points.
Yeah, it was a very strange sensation afterwards because obviously you come away with the game win but you know that the series win isn't yours to take home, and even though I think I spoke to a few of the Queenslanders afterwards and they said the same thing. They didn't know whether to be ebullient or excited or what, you know. So, but anyway, that was the rules, that, you know, the way it played. I think what that really shows is there should be a Game 3. Unequivocally, there should be a Game 3. And I think 18,272 people in Townsville turned up and the noise was deafening, the atmosphere was amazing, and I'm pretty sure everybody afterwards is screaming for a Game 3.
Is that the biggest
biggest
crowd that has been to a women's rugby league game ever?
I don't know about Women's Rugby League game, but it's the biggest Origin crowd we've ever had.
You could assume that.
I
it
would
be,
assume that,
I'd
yes, that
assume
would be
the
the
audience
case.
too on television watching.
Huge.
Over
That's huge.
1.1
Yeah.
we had watched that game.
So will it be a game 3 next year? Has that been declared?
Nothing's been declared, but I think
gotta be, doesn't
when you
it?
watch this, you look at that and you say there must be a game 3.
Yeah.
There can't be any, we can't stay at 2. There has to be a 3.
Well, it was silly. It was silly. I think from the point of view of firstly, New South Wales had the Shield and the rules got changed to where they become about points. Normally, if you don't have the Shield, you should have to win 2 games to get the Shield.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, but from Queensland's point of view, they're in front of the game. And in that last 10 minutes, you could see they didn't just have to lead, they weren't just leading by 4 or 6, they were actually leading by 14, which changed the whole sort of scope of how they played as well. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think the one good thing out of it, Roy, I thought the first game obviously was very sloppy. But this game was an incredible standard.
Well, we spoke about that. The conditions just were
Oh,
so
but they hadn't
slippery in
played.
game.
The girls hadn't played.
Yeah.
They hadn't even trained. A lot of them hadn't played much of their state league competitions prior to this as well. So the fact that they're back at NRLW training between first Origin and second Origin, they're getting their hands on the ball a lot more frequently. I agree, Freddie, it was a heaps better standard of game. And I think you saw right from the get-go, we made significant changes to the way that we played to start off game 2. And you can just see the skill level that the women have on show. And I think we moved the ball around a lot, which I think surprised a lot of people. But what you said, Joey, the conditions suit that.
They were the changes to move the ball.
We were going to move the ball around, but first of all, we just wanted to punch the front door down.
What about standalone or playing before the men's? When do you think that?
That's a really good question. I think sometimes there are bonuses to playing double headers in that space, but then there are also we've shown that standalone it can survive and stand on its own 2 feet. So sometimes, you don't want it to get lost in the noise of the men's game as well. You want it to stand on its own and be able to be proud and upright the way it has been. And I think if it goes to 3 games, I'd love to see one as a double header, definitely.
I do think as well, though, because you get, for the week just gone, you have the men's game at Suncorp Stadium. So everyone who's in that vicinity or, can travel where, money's not an option for them. But then you also cater to people in other areas who might not be able to afford or get to the men's game. Then they have the opportunity to go and see some State of Origin.
Absolutely. And I guarantee this, after last week, one game should always be held in Townsville. Always. Not just because I enjoy the winter in Townsville, it was beautiful, but the crowd were fantastic. And I knew that Townsville would turn up and support this game, and they did in droves. And I think, like I said, I think it was 18,272, and I think 18,000 of them were Queensland fans. So
Can I ask a question? Why did Jessie Southwell take so long to kick the goal?
I'm not sure. I didn't speak to her afterwards
Like,
about
what was
it.
happening? Were there...
It seemed like something was happening. But
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening. It just seemed to take so long. And then I'm watching the clock. The clock hadn't stopped.
No, and it doesn't stop until the ball goes dead. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Jess about it afterwards, but we'll go over that.
Do you think what you mentioned before, leading into game 1, how there hadn't been a lot of footy played for the women just because of the way that the schedule is, would then it be wise to move the women's State of Origin, or do you like it having it here in this Origin period?
Well, if you have it at this Origin period, then it's big Origin buzz around the game as a whole. So that drives a lot of attention, eyeballs, all that sort of stuff. And where it sits now, because with men's Origin, them having the Thursday off, then you've got prime time slot available to have the game. However, what you can do, we can move NRLW. You can have the state league competitions acting as the feeding tube through. They play there, and either they play NRLW or they play down in their state league competitions, and then you can still have Origin in that Origin period. So it's a lot of decisions that need to be made around where it sits and what the calendar looks like.
Roo, who were your top 2 players from each team? Obviously, you were associated with New South Wales in the coaching staff, but who impressed you from Queensland and obviously from your side as well?
Yeah, I thought Tamika Upton was fantastic for Queensland. She's
Quick,
so
isn't she?
elusive, and she moves so well. Like she floods the ball beautifully. She's liquid, and I think what we probably don't see a lot out of her is defence, and she showed that. I think in game 2 she was really strong, and obviously Tasman Gray was the one. She got Player of the Series as well, and I thought Tani Norris used her really smartly. She started her on the right edge in game 1, and then moved her over to the left to get at our halves, and I think Tasman really she excelled in both of those games. But for New South Wales, for me, Emma Tonagato was phenomenal. She was so
a star.
good. And, you know, she ran for almost 300 metres in game 2. She popped up, she had 25, 26 runs. She's just phenomenal. She's such a great athlete. And just look at this skill set on display. That's almost a 30-metre spiral pass, shifting it out wide. So she's an incredible talent. You can see why she was a Dally M medal winner. And through the middle, I thought Kezzy Apps played her 11th game. So she's officially the most capped female Sky Blue, and to see her play in that 11th game as well was fantastic.
One game all, only 4 or 5? 4 points.
4 points.
Differentiated the two teams. Doesn't it make for an incredible series next year?
Absolutely. Well, we're willing to just have an unofficial one. We thought
I think Gus was going to find you a park somewhere.
Henson Park might be a good one. We'll just get everyone to bring their cars around, turn the headlights on. Let's
I don't know if
go.
Queensland will bring the shield, but
I don't think so.
The good
locked up
news is,
there.
though, there's plenty more coming because the NRLW season is just about to get underway.
Absolutely. This is going to kick off at the end of next month, and all of the players we saw this week are going to be on display, a lot of them in new team colours, which is really exciting. It's been an interrupted pre-season because of Origin for some of the clubs, but I think it's going to be exciting nonetheless, and yeah, you'll see the game climb to even greater heights as we progress throughout the year.
We're looking forward to all the NRLW action. Also looking forward to State of Origin in Townsville again next year because
absolutely,
the
always
weather,
a game in
Townsville, very
Townsville,
fun.
please.
Well, Newcastle,
Andrew.
Yeah, Newcastle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Newcastle would.
Newcastle,
Central Coast.
Townsville, and we'll
It's Central
maybe
Coast to be a
Central
good one.
Coast would be a good
Canberra.
one.
Canberra could.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Bit too chilly in winter time. Somewhere warmer climes.